The Journal of Clinical Microbiology has a great tradition of publishing mini reviews on topics that are important to the clinical microbiology community. Recent examples of topics covered in heavily cited publications include artificial intelligence for image analysis, nanopore sequencing for Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and of course, a fabulous article on COVID-19 diagnostics that came out right when the world needed it. Not only do many reviews provide up-to-the-minute updates on topics pertinent to clinical microbiologists, but they also serve as fabulous training tools for medical professionals, trainees, and researchers across all disciplines. The Journal of Clinical Microbiology mini review is a succinct article on a single topic, no more than 30 references and 12 pages of text, and they span the breadth of clinical microbiology. Welcome to Editors in Conversation, a podcast brought to you by the Journal of Clinical Microbiology, available at asm.org/JCM. In this new feature for the podcast, we'll be discussing topics of interest to readers of the journal with experts in the field. I'm JCM Editor-in-Chief, Romney Humphries. Today, I'm joined by my good friend, Dr. Nate Ledeboer. Nate is Chief of the Division of Clinical Pathology at the Medical College of Wisconsin. Nate, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me today, Romney. Really appreciate the invitation.
Awesome. So, Nate, I asked you here to chat with me a little bit and our listeners about the mini review, a feature for the journal that you graciously agreed to take over. So before we start, any regrets? How's it going so far?
Absolutely no regrets, but it definitely has been a bit like drinking from the fire hose. It is absolutely a different form of working with our readers, working with our authors. But it's truly been enjoyable because it really gets to be finding exciting topics and bringing those to our readers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was editor over this feature, I found the experience to be really great too. One thing I really liked was to see junior people who are really kind of starting their careers, and we invite them to write a paper, and this becomes the reference paper on a topic they love or are passionate about, and it kind of in some ways can be a kickoff for them to be really the expert in that area. Many reviews are a great way to stake your claim on an area. So, Nate, you've looked at several of these by now. What makes a great mini review in your opinion?
So I think number one, as you had mentioned, succinct. The key feature of the mini review is it's not this overwhelming document that takes over. It really is a very succinct review on a very subspecialty area of a topic. So the fact that it can be very succinct, it provides sufficient levels of detail, and also is of timeliness. I think you cited the COVID-19 review as one example, and really getting that information out when our readers needed it the most.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit on something so important. I think often we get submissions that are rather lengthy, maybe tomes, some might call them, with hundreds of references. And those are great, but they're not for JCM. That's really not the intention. This is like the news you need to know, essentially, right?
Exactly. I was in a meeting actually earlier today, and I heard one of my ED colleagues refer to my emergency medicine brain only lasts for 5 minutes. And the mini review is such a great feature to that because we are all busy. We don't have hours to spend digesting a full review, and the mini review really compacts that down into something that is manageable and digestible.
Yeah. I mean, I love it when a mini review teaches me something new, or maybe 6 months from now when I have a case that features one of the organisms, I'm like, I write about this, and you can go back and very quickly have, the most up-to-date information. So that can be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one thing I found as I was doing this, and I didn't really anticipate it until I was over the section, was how much it means to people when they're invited to write a mini review. And so I guess for the listeners, a little bit of context, the Journal of Clinical Microbiology, our mini review features are invited content. And so the way you go about this is you can either email myself or Dr. Ledeboer with an idea, or sometimes we seek you out because we know you're doing interesting work in the field or have given a great talk or whatever it might be. And what I found so cool is how meaningful it was for people. Something, really special about being noticed by editors of a major journal, especially, when you're early in your career, but honestly, even at this point in our careers, it's nice to be recognized, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So some of the topics covered in mini reviews that took me by surprise were the ones that turned out to be rather controversial, right? So a great example, I think, is the taxonomy updates. We put these out as is needed, essentially, at this point, and people love them or they hate them, and they are not shy to let us know what they think of them. So what are your thoughts on this? Do we like drama in a mini review? Is that something interesting?
I think if it can promote conversation in the field, I think the mini review has very much served its purpose. And I can tell you, giving you just a little bit of a sneak peek of what's to come, we have some mini reviews that will be forthcoming that will be somewhat controversial, and I think will engage controversial topics in the field. So controversy is good, provided that we can also give the field some direction in terms of what are the options and where do we think we can go, and especially if it can help stimulate ongoing conversation. Yeah. I think, again, the taxonomy reviews are perfect for that. They have really stimulated a very valuable conversation. Mm-hmm. And it's an important clinical conversation around, between recognizing an organism's name and really representing the correct identification. I think, while controversial, it has certainly been useful.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always fluctuate back and forth. On the one hand, I hate to put a name out that no one knows, and you get the resident who's interested in writing a case report on the first ever incident of whatever it might be. But on the other hand, the only way we can learn some of these nuances about these pathogens is having a really good and accurate taxonomical description. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky topic.
Absolutely.
So the other thing I would say about many reviews is that they are pretty heavily cited. And so for authors, if they're interested in boosting their H factor, which is one of the metrics used, this can be valued by academic promotion committees. Of course, it's not a reason to publish a mini review just because of the citations, but it is kind of like a nice bonus. If you put the effort in, it is something that's going to pay some dividends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was kind of the behind the scenes, how this all works. But let's talk about a couple of your top favorite mini reviews and why you liked them. So maybe give us maybe your top 5 recently.
So I think certainly one of the top mini reviews for me is the phenotype versus genotype question in AST. Yeah. This is an ongoing question that we know is going to dominate the field for the next decade or better. The fact that JCM was on top of this very, very early on, and Trish Simner did a very nice job of presenting the case, presenting where do we need additional data and where can genotypic information actually provide us additional information, has been incredibly useful. Yeah. Another perfect example is just reviewing. Yiwei Tang wrote a number of years ago the mini review reviewing 40 years of molecular biology and microbiology. What a great historical perspective, really taking into stake how far we've come in advancing diagnostics when it comes to molecular techniques. Yeah. It was just a great document. You had mentioned the COVID-19 mini review, certainly was probably one of the most timely ones. But again, we have those that are very valuable. The taxonomy mini reviews, whether it be the domestic animals, the livestock animals, or the human pathogens. It is the go-to reference for not only clinical laboratories, but for a lot of our colleagues in industry that are looking to update databases for identification or AST testing systems. It is incredibly useful in that particular space. And I have to recognize and appreciate all the work that Eric Munson, Karen Carroll, and their team of authors have go to bring those documents together every year and provide such a valuable reference to the community. And again, really broadening the stake of who is in the community in those cases.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is an absolute amazing amount of work that they put into that, all of the authors of those features. And I will say for the listeners, I did pay Nate to pick a susceptibility testing mini review as one of his favorites, in case you're wondering. I wanted to highlight one that recently was published. I think it was in the last issue, which was the update on tick-borne diseases in North America, which was really, really cool. It was written by Kyle Rodino, Ellie Thiel, and Bobby Pritt. And I think it kind of epitomized what a great mini review is. It had the story of kind of the evolution of this challenge that we're facing more and more. It had really great review of the epidemiology and where that is. And then, of course, a description of diagnostic methods. And so it was really like, I do see that becoming the go-to reference for that topic. And that was one that was suggested to us, not necessarily, commissioned. I didn't think of asking them to do that. They asked me if they could do it. And I'm so glad they did, because it was such a fabulous article. So I guess, plug-in is, if you have a great idea, don't hesitate to reach out, because sometimes the best ones are ones that kind of develop organically. Cool. So all that being said, you mentioned some controversies coming. What topics are you most interested in for the mini review coming up?
So I'll give you a couple of teasers on what are to come. So first of all, we're going to do a little bit of work in early 2026 around AI and kind of how AI is going to impact the field of microbiology. I think we're seeing, as an example, in the sepsis algorithms that are being developed, all of these algorithms are being implemented without a great deal of lab medicine review.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a series of mini reviews that can actually explore, in AI, is this snake oil, or is it the snake oil of 2025, or is AI a real thing? And we're going to look at a couple of different applications in that space. We're going to spend some time, I'm looking at a couple of mini reviews around some molecular applications, molecular versus traditional culture applications. And I think those could generate a little bit of controversy or a little bit of discussion as well. So, and then we're also looking at, where can we engage other areas of the journal? So for example, where can we use a mini review to perhaps stimulate a point counterpoint discussion around reviewing a topic and then having a debate in that topic around what is the best direction to move forward. So lots of exciting stuff to come, and always looking for more exciting things too.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love your comments about the AI too. I recently stumbled upon the absolute joy of AI image generation. And it does make me nervous to think we'd start using AI in medicine when the AI still has a hard time figuring out how many fingers a person has, or that your hand doesn't come out of your forehead when you give it prompts. So anyways, I'm sure that these are going to be heavily validated. So very interesting. All right. So I think that this has been a great summary. I think it's such a fabulous feature. I am so grateful, Nate, that you have agreed to take these on. It is a lot of work, but it is such a cornerstone feature for the journal. One other plug for people: there's no publication fees for mini reviews. So, let us know if there's anything you're interested in exploring through a mini review. So if you're interested in any of the articles we've mentioned in the podcast, you can find links to them in the episode description or show notes, or at asm.org/EIC. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the podcast, or even better yet, why don't you share it with your friends and colleagues? Nate, how do people submit their ideas as the last question?
So the easiest way to submit an idea is send me an email. I'm more than happy to engage with our readers and with our authors via email. If you have an idea, shoot me an email. We'll attach my email in the link to the description of the podcast so that it's available. But it's just Ledeboer, Ledeboe @mcw.edu. If you have an idea, let's work through it. Let's talk through what you're thinking. And if we need to, let's jump on a Zoom call and have a discussion about what you're really thinking about, because we're always interested in hearing new ideas for new topics. One thing I would really encourage people not to do: don't decide you're going to write a mini review and then just submit it to us.
Yeah.
Reach out to us first. We want to save you the work. We'll help you. We'll partner together with you to look at the topic, to explore what might be of interest, and then we'll try to find a way that we can partner together on creating a mini review.
Yeah, I totally reiterate that. There's nothing more heartbreaking than when somebody submits a really great mini review, but you literally just accepted one on the exact same topic. That stinks, and we want to avoid that. So yeah, great tip. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for listening to Editors in Conversation, and goodbye.